Hey everybody, Coach Nino Villa here, and for those of that don't know me, I am a disciple of Christ, husband, father, and I'm the PMT, that is Personal Money Trainer. I wanted to take a moment to reflect on a conversation I had recently with a client that really circles this idea that I've been mulling over for a couple of weeks now, and that is, how do we make the big decisions when it comes to our finances? You have a big money decision in front of you. How do you know whether to pull the trigger or to wait or to do something completely different? And so in this particular scenario, I have been encouraging, I've planted the seed and I continue to water the seed. I'm encouraging my client to sell his vehicle and get out of the monthly payment that comes with it. And so we've been having this conversation on and off for a couple of months about whether or not to sell the car, and he's taken steps to prepare himself for selling the vehicle, but he hasn't pulled the trigger. And so it dawned on me to share with him an analogy that God had shared with me recently about making big decisions. And so this can apply to your finances, and it can apply outside of your finances. And so how do we come to make these big decisions? How do we know which job to take, or whether or not to sell the car, or whether or not to buy a new car, or any big life decision? How do you know to marry the person that you think you want to marry? Whatever the decision might be, big or small, here's how you might be able to approach it. So the analogy that came to me was, I was hiking, and as I was hiking this summit, I was getting a little nervous about the height. I'm a little afraid of heights, and more so being out on a trail without a partner, physical partner, because I'm always walking with God. I get in my head about, what if I twisted my ankle or broke my leg, and who would know I'm up here, and how would I get down, and blah, 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 blah. A bunch of stuff that I shouldn't worry about. Anyway, this analogy came to me about whether or not I should continue on the path or if I should turn back and go down the path. And what helped me to aid my decision was, regardless of what I chose, whether I chose to move forward on the path or turn back, it was about making the decision to honor God. So if I was going to turn back, how would I be honoring God in that decision? And if I decided to move forward, how would I be honoring God in that decision? And I used that same analogy with my client, and I said, look, you're obviously hesitating about selling the truck. So why not take some time and pray about it, and really turn the decision over to God and say, look, if I keep the vehicle, I will be honoring you by doing so in this way, whatever that is. And if I sell this vehicle and get out from underneath it, I'll be honoring you in this manner, this manner, this manner, this manner. And through that, excuse me, a couple of different things could happen. I was going to say one of two things, but maybe a couple of different things could happen. Understanding a couple is two. Anyway, a few things could happen. One, the decision may become very clear as you're praying about it, and you start to realize, like, how is it that I would be honoring God if I made decision A versus decision B? And it might be very clear, and it might just be like, there's not a whole lot of honoring going on if I do B, but there's a lot of honoring going on if I do A. Another thing might happen is you might realize that you really can make either decision, and God's going to bless either decision. And so as long as you're doing it to honor God, you can move forward confidently, which is where I ended up with my very minuscule decision about whether or not to continue up the summit or to turn back, in which I decided to go up the summit because in that moment I said, hey God, if I turn back, I'm going to be honoring you because there's certain information, certain knowledge about you I don't need. That's the analogy I kind of drummed up in that scenario. If I move forward, I'm honoring you by facing my fears that I have about you to overcome those fears so that I can experience your fullest glory. Again, all within this scenario, this analogy, which is a small little sampling. And so I decided to move up the hill to the summit to honor God, to overcome that fear, so that I could experience His fullest glory. And so in that decision, like it wasn't going to much matter which one I decided. It was going to, I believe God was going to honor, or God was going to bless either decision because I was honoring Him. And so anytime you have a big decision, or even if you have a small decision that you're really struggling with, whether again it be about whether to leave an employer or to accept a position with a new employer, whether it's to sell a vehicle, buy a vehicle, whatever these decisions might be, it might be really practical for you to slow down, have a conversation with God, and start to identify how you would honor God regardless of what decision you would make. Let me know if that hit home for you. If you have questions about that, down in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. God bless and take care.